I'll talk to you about this later. I got avocado. Probably do.
It's really going to confuse me not to have an agenda. I think Jenny took my agenda. Oh, there's your.
You take that. Here's my agenda. We share everything.
All right.
Call to order the regular meeting of the governing members are present. Let's all raise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and if we could please remain standing for a moment of silence for the Daisy Mountain firefighter that we lost this weekend. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I already called roll call, so.
All right, I move that we adopt the agenda with the slight change of moving public comments from the end of the meeting to after item 5D.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Didn't do roll call.
Awards and achievements.
Good evening, President Fisher, members of the Governing Board, Superintendent Weitenheimer, and special guests. We begin tonight with our Community of Character and Courage recognition. Our panel selected a student who exhibits a superior level of maturity and traits of character and courage that are not often found among students, much less a sixth grader. Greenbrier student Justin Mallory shows respect and caring for everyone, every day, and in so many different ways. Deer Valley is honored to welcome Justin Mallory into our Community of Character and Courage.
There are so many things to say about Justin. I've been teaching a very long time, and it's very hard to find somebody like him.
And Justin's that kind of guy that you can always count on, that he'll be there. Justin he just knows how to deal with people.
Well, when I think of Justin, I think of kindness and loyalty.
He's one of a kind. I mean, he doesn't bully anyone. He always plays when he tries to let everyone get their way.
If somebody is having a problem, he just almost innately knows. And he knows what to do to be their friend that's a support for them.
If you're kind to people, I'm not saying expect anything back, but usually speaking, if you're kind to someone, if you have some sort of problem, generally speaking, they'll help you out with it if you've helped them in the past.
Justin's really nice. He helps me out all the time. Like one time in reading, it was my first time being leader, and I was like nervous. So I talked to my friend, Justin, and he gave me advice and all that stuff.
I remember it was in 3rd or 2nd grade, and I remember we were outside playing on the equipment, and I remember that there's this little 1st grader, and he fell, and Justin went over to make sure he was okay, and he walked him over to the monitors and took him to the nurse. So it was really nice of him to do that, not just to leave him there.
I was at a party with Justin at Peter Piper Pizza or somewhere like that, and there was this one kid that just stole my prize, and he went and got it back for me. It just felt good to have it back.
Just the other day, a student was having trouble with the computer, and he went over there and he started helping him without even the teacher asking him to.
Like once I was over at his house after his birthday party. So how it started was he opened one of his dragons and he said, "Oh, I already have this one, you want it?" So I said, "Okay, I'll take it." Then I said, "Can I open one?" He's like, "Sure." Knowing him, I wasn't surprised really that he would do that.
One time, like everyone else got questions right, but I didn't. And I was crying after class, but he was like, "Don't worry, everyone has that type of day," and he encouraged me that I can do better.
We got a new student at the beginning of the year, and she was a little bit different from what we have in our general population. He would talk to her when nobody else maybe did. Like, nobody was mean, but nobody maybe took the time to talk to her. They would spend their time in lunch in the Sage Room, and he invited her to come along, and they got a group of friends in there, so then she felt comfortable going in there instead of having to go to recess maybe where she wouldn't have anybody, because for a while she sat outside on the bleachers by herself, and then he came and asked her to come to lunch, I believe, and that made her kind of feel like she was part of the group.
Being nice to other people, it gets you very far in life.
He's just good at being a friend.
He's made what I do worthwhile. He always does the right thing, I think simply because it's the right thing to do, not for any other reason than he just knows it's the right thing.
Justin has influenced me to watch my actions to make sure that I'm doing everything nice and not always mean and bossy, making sure that I care about others and think before I say stuff.
I'm proud to send this guy out into the world because the world's a better place with Justin in it.
Congratulations to our community of character and courage honoree, Greenbrier's Justin Mallory. And we invite Justin's parents and teachers up to join him in the photo. And one last thing, Justin, I want to point out that our sponsor, Honor Health, provided the engraved plaque that you received. And our sponsor, Sky Zone Peoria, has put a check inside that certificate. And we would like you to use it towards any charitable organization of your choice to pay it forward and expand our community of character and courage. Congratulations. DVUSD's Alice Wright was selected from nominees across the state as the Arizona Association for Pupil Transportation's 2016 Driver of the Year. Alice is a wonderful, safe, and conscientious bus driver who has worked for the past 11 years for Deer Valley. Her nominators for the award wrote that not only is Alice a skilled bus driver and successful trainer, she is a truly awesome person. She is always happy and cheery, concerned more about the success of others than her own accomplishments. Alice responds to any issues on the bus in a very mild, calm, and loving way, and obtains great results through her gentle methods. Much of her success is that she treats her students as if they were her own children. Congratulations to Arizona Association for Pupil Transportation's 2016 Driver of the Year, Alice Wright. invite Alice's supervisors to join her for the photo. It's a big night for the Transportation Department. The Deer Valley Unified School District's Transportation Garage was recently honored as the 2016 Fleet Maintenance Department of the Year by the Arizona Association for Pupil Transportation. During the summer DPS inspections, the Team Fleet Maintenance Team improved the number of buses meeting standards, and they are on a mission to make even more improvements next year. The team shows excellence in customer service, timely fleet maintenance, record keeping, leadership, and communication skills. Congratulations to the 2016 Fleet Maintenance Department of the Year and DVUSD Transportation Garage supervisors, mechanics, and staff. I'm going to try to read their names correctly. Ernie Meza, Nick Franklin, Dan Sleeman, Alan Jabolt, Jeff Kingsley, Mike Koistinen, Jeff Kruger, Steve Segoiva, Jason Robaleski, Mick Ruggles, Mark White, Marshall Militano, Jack Clinton, and Casey Dahl. Congratulations. I missed some names, didn't I? I didn't say Gilbert. And I apologize to our award-winning team. I think I missed a line of names. Ivan Morris, Bill Pele, Gilbert Ponce, Josue Sanchez, and Scott Schmidt. My apologies. Through corporate donations from USAA Foundation, personal donations, and fundraising efforts, the Deer Valley Education Foundation is able to award impact grants to 25 teachers to directly support special projects in the classroom. DVEF Board President Charlie Philippek is here to present the grants, which will impact more than 4,100 students. And teachers, as you're called up, please stay up for a group photo.
President Fisher, members of the governing board, Dr. Weitenheimer, members of administration, and to my the families and friends, and to you very, very noble educators, good evening. The Deer Valley Education Foundation is very excited to report that tonight, with tonight's grants, we have now exceeded $1.5 million in donations for the district. Thank you. And my executive director of the foundation is Marie Brennan. She's going to help me. Thank you, Marie. And I'm going to read off the name of the school, the project title, and the recipient of the award. But before I do this, I'd like to personally thank the educators in this room for their commitment. I have learned that the most important single factor in an individual's success is commitment. Commitment ignites action. To commit means to devote yourself to a purpose, to a cause, and all of the educators receiving awards tonight are here because of their commitment, not only to their work, not only to the school, but most important, to the students. So thank you very much. All right, we're starting with Anthem School. For the project is Hokie Stools for Learning. Jessica Brickta, please. From Arrowhead, Sensory Embedded Academics, Carrie Ford and Susie Pitnikoff. From Bel Air, Learning Literature Through Art Promoting Literacy, Goals Through Art Making, Kathy Jemelkowski. From Bel Air, Full Steam Ahead at Bel Air Elementary, Lynn Castiglione. From Boulder Creek, the BCHS Gardening for Hope, Emily McCall. From Canyon Springs, Simple Machines and 3D Printing, Lee Pagano. From Canyon Springs, Space the Fifth Grade Frontier, Jamie Hansen. From Deer Valley High, Healthy Snacks for Healthy Teens, Amber Gloria, Terry Roberts, Elizabeth Wamsley. Also from Deer Valley High, a second award for Terry Roberts, Amber Gloria, and Elizabeth Wamsley for Power Foods for Powerful Thought. From Deer Valley High, Add Access to a Sensory Room for the Multiple Handicapped Students, Kathy Gint. Desert Sky Middle, Behavioral Intervention Tools, Susan Wertheim. Diamond Canyon, Bouncy Bands, Beth Eberheimer. From Diamond Canyon, Phonological Awareness, Christy Whaler. From Esperanza, Very Moving Sentences, Eileen Nguyen. From Greenbrier, Rosewood alto xylophone, Rebecca Lowe. From Mirage, Empowering Students with Sensory Needs, Paige Aiken. From Mountain Ridge, Entrepreneurship is a Gem, Debbie Moore. From Norterra Canyon and Stetson Hills, Ahoy Buccaneers, Peer Tutoring, Stallion Star Readers, Susan Carey. From Sandra Day O'Connor, Environmental Science Garden, Melissa Mara. From Sierra Verde Primary Coding, Tracy Mayfield. And from West Wing Reading Enhancement through Phonetic Awareness, Bridget Bodwin, Leah Hatfield, and Leanne Schreier. Congratulations to all the recipients, and for the rest of the educators, please apply for the grants because we have lots of money to give away. Thank you.
All right, before we are going to move on to a public comment. If any of the award recipients want to take this opportunity to leave, or if they want to stay, they're welcome either way. We do have 20 requests to speak. So if that comes out to a minute and a half per person. We wanted to give groups an opportunity to maybe pair up and have a spokesperson, or if you guys want to speak individually. Can I get an idea of any individuals want to group up, or you want to go individually? Then we'll go individually. So there'll be a minute and a half. Okay. So, before we start calling names and have you line up, some of our recipients are going. Yep. Absolutely. Okay, before we call the names of the speakers, I want to read a statement to you. As a governing board, we are always open to hearing comments from our stakeholders. During public comment portion of our meeting, we are able to listen to all concerns, but please know that the law does not allow us to discuss or act on anything that is not on the agenda. We are also prohibited from discussing any personnel matters. We have moved this item up on the agenda because we truly appreciate that you took the time here tonight, and we want you to know that we want to hear your voices. The Vice President will now read unimportant information regarding public comments, but before she starts reading, or while she's reading, if I can get, I think we'll do 5 at a time. We have, I'm going to slaughter this name, Joe Palanzola, Christina Johnson, Sarah McKay, Christy Castillo, and Dawn Riddle. Rundle. Okay. If you can line up, and our Vice President will read, what do you call it, an admonishment?
The board invites public comment on the district's business in general and on any agenda item in specific. All speakers must observe the rules of decorum. Speakers must fill out a card listing name, address, and topic and hand it to the board secretary prior to the president calling the meeting to order. Speakers must make their comments in 1.5 minutes per speaker. If necessary to accommodate all speakers within the 30-minute overall limit, the board president may shorten each speaker's time. I think we've done that to the 1.5 minutes. Constructive criticism is in order. Rudeness, vulgarity, disruptive conduct, or remarks disrespecting personal dignity are not in order and will not be allowed. Under the Arizona Open Meeting Law, the governing board cannot discuss or act on any items not listed on the agenda. Board members may respond to criticism made by a speaker, ask staff to review a matter, or ask that a matter be put on a future agenda.
Step up to the podium and state your name.
Hi, my name is Joe Palazola. Good evening, Governing Board. I'm here as a parent of an incoming student to Boulder Creek. I'm here to talk about what most people might be talking about is the video. There's also a lot of other rumors about the school, lack of good educational experience, drugs being sold, consumed on the campus, and other various things. But of course, those are rumors and should not be taken to heart. But after seeing this video, I could no longer dismiss all rumors. The lack of professionalism by the principal, the person in charge of the school, the one person that sets the standards for the entire school and represents the school district as a whole. How do we expect the students to react when they see this video and wonder whether they too can get away with showing the same disregard to respect and morals? The principal allowing staff to use words of stupid, idiotic, morons, and then attacking the private school next door. This shows a total lack of all the morals that have been taught to the students that have grown up through the lower grades. If you as a governing board for the entire school district let such behavior pass without doing anything about it, then you are just as derelict of duty to our children as the staff involved in the video. I do want to add that this event should not be used against the entire staff. I'm sure that there are plenty of
Mr.
good,
Palanzola, I need you to wrap
members.
it up. Your time is up.
Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Christy Castillo. So I have a question.
A little bit closer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Christy Castillo. So my family and I moved over the summer to Arizona, and one of the reasons why we selected Anthem was because of the comments that we had heard about the nice community and schools there. So it was very disappointing to see that the first time I see our school on the news is because of negative press like this. So my question to you is, with the effort, the time, and the money that was spent on something like this, I'd like to ask why, or if there is, what that effort is that is going towards weed, the smell of marijuana being smelt in restrooms, where my child says he tries to wait to use the restroom so that he does not smell that. And then also with seeing students making out in the hallway. Is there some type of effort that is going towards avoiding that or stopping that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
State your name for the record, please.
I take up some of her time? Just kidding.
No,
Just
it's
kidding.
1.5.
My name is Dawn Rundle. First of all, speaking in front of a large group of people is really not my specialty, but I will do my best. I'm here to not personally attack anyone contrary to the popular belief shown on social medias and petitions. I would like to recognize and thank the Deer Valley School District Board for taking time out of their agenda tonight to listen to the voices of the community of Anthem. I'd like to express my condolences to the fact of the matter that we are put in this situation. As a community, we can agree that we wish it had not come to this, but evidently, actions do have consequences regardless of its intentions. As the district school board, you have the task of making very important decisions, not only for the community of Anthem and the district and the state of Arizona, but your decision will affect the United States education. It sets an example to all. People and communities from all over the nation are going to be looking at the Deer Valley School District, school board, and at their decision. One of my main concerns is that Ms. Sheehan and Mr. Kopis had not seen what was wrong with their actions.
Please don't use
video,
names.
I'm sorry?
Please do not use names.
Oh, I'm sorry. The posted video did more than just upset our community. It has made our district and the Arizona education system look bad. As anyone can see from the apology letter sent, it was full of excuses as to why it was posted rather than recognizing what was actually wrong with the situation. I'm trying to shorten it. That's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. State your name for the record, please.
Christina Johnson. Good evening. My name is Christina Kitson Johnson, and I am a resident of Anthem that has come to you in support of the current administration that is being investigated. I have 7 children that have grown up in the Anthem community, 3 that have graduated already from Boulder Creek and is graduating college on Saturday. The other 2 are in college right now, 1 senior graduating this year, a current junior, and 2 in junior high that will be entering Boulder Creek in the next 2 years. All of our children that have attended Boulder Creek have received an outstanding education in a safe and learning environment. I have known one of the individuals for over 20 years. I first met him when he was a teacher at Phoenix Day School for the Deaf, where he taught with my former in-laws. I then crossed paths with him again when he moved to Anthem and he was a youth soccer coach for my oldest son. Again, I had the pleasure of working alongside of him when I was the PTA president at Diamond Canyon, and he was a teacher there teaching my children. He has also taught my daughter, who is a sophomore at Texas Christian right now, when she was at Boulder Creek. To say that he is an excellent educator of our children would be an understatement. He is the exact type of educator that our children need. He is passionate, he is driven, and instills in our children work ethic. I completely understand that by watching this video how one could come to the conclusion that he would be anything other than all of the characteristics that I have mentioned. I am asking tonight that instead of looking at the video to define him, that you look at what he has done over the past 30 years of educating our youth as defining his character. Every one of us in this room has made a mistake in our lives that has impacted others, and probably in front of our children. We all know this video wasn't intended for the general public or even for the students.
Please wrap it up.
It was leaked, and it has been blown up out of proportion by a few people that are asking for his head on a platter
Ms.
for
Johnston,
their own
your
agenda.
time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Before you start, just a moment, let me go ahead and call the next 5 so you can get in line behind. Okay. We have Tina Binns. I think that's Joe Pitts. Melody Kopis. Megan Cullum. Is that a name?
Cullum.
I think it's Melody Cullum. And Roseanne Guidance. Go ahead, step up to the mic. State your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Sarah Mackey. I'm a parent of a Boulder Creek High School student, an Anthem resident, and a Boulder Creek High School volunteer. The clips shown in the media are taken completely out of context. It was a skit. It was not politically motivated. It was designed to be outlandish so that it would be obvious that these were not the genuine feelings of our 2 administrators. The frenzy has been stirred by people who are disgruntled about a personal past situation. A complete overreaction and a witch hunt that they have been after for a very long time. I am asking that this be a fair and unbiased look at our current administration. It will be a complete disruption to our students and our faculty, as it already has been, and putting in an interim principal that has no vested interest in our students and no interest in our athletic department. We don't turn our backs on our children when they make a mistake. So why would we do this to our administration that are influencing our children? I ask you again to please leave these two in their current contracts and allow them to make right by the situation and by our children. There is no need to end their hard-working careers over something so ridiculous.
Please.
Thank you.
Thank you. State your name for the record. State your name for the record.
I'm Tina Benz. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm the athletic secretary, assistant principal. I don't think I can say names. No, okay. I'm the athletic secretary, assistant to the assistant principal, and my direct supervisor is the principal. I'm a parent with one student having graduated from Boulder Creek and another currently attending. I live in Anthem, home to Boulder Creek. I am saddened and outraged that a small group of Anthem parents have turned a humorous skit into an angry social media frenzy. Our principal and assistant principal are stand-up, kind-hearted, respected individuals that I have the honor to work with. It would be a disgrace to have these individuals removed from their positions at Boulder Creek, where they are loved and admired by the faculty, the students, and the community. Thank you.
Thank you. State your name for the record.
I'm Joseph Pitts. Sorry, let me just clear my throat really quick. Sorry, handling a cold right now. I would firstly like to thank the school board for allowing myself and others to speak out on this issue tonight. The free exchange of ideas is what makes the American Republic the greatest system on earth, and as such, I'm very pleased to see the free marketplace of ideas fostered by the Deer Valley Unified School District, so thank you guys. I come here today in front of you not to advocate a certain political ideology or push a political agenda, but rather to offer the viewpoint that this incident stands alone from politics and that these administrators' actions do not warrant their dismissal. I'm currently an ambassador in Boulder Creek student government. The video in question, to be clear, was explicitly sent to the staff to lighten and alleviate the stresses that accompany being a teacher. Had this video been sent to the students, I would not be standing here this evening. To clarify, before I continue, I believe that teachers should never impose certain views on their students and should be neutral in what they teach. This video, however, was never intended to be viewed by the students. It was not until someone independent of the school and the district posted it for general populace to view. I came here tonight because I am concerned that there is room for miscarriage of justice. I came here tonight because we do not wish to see a miscarriage of justice over a video that had the sole purpose of comedy. The video was not made with the intent of making a political statement. It was made to make the teachers laugh, alleviating the heavy responsibilities put on teachers' shoulders. So I ask the board, do not deprive us of these exemplary administrators. I ask that you do not allow the pressure of news coverage and other factors influence the process. Stand with us, stand with the students, stand with Boulder Creek. Thank you for allowing me to express my view on this complex issue. I wish all of you a wonderful evening.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Megan Cullum. This principal and woman have been entrusted to deliver a secular and politically unaffiliated education to all the students that they've been entrusted with. They failed to do that, and that's the beginning, middle, and end of the discussion. By posting the video that they did, by having the video, whether it was intended to be seen by everybody or not, they have segregated, they have isolated any conservative students. That is emotional abuse to those students. How can they feel safe in that environment and not bullied when the person in the highest position, directly in the highest position of power above them, has made their political viewpoints known and has engaged in political satire that has no business being produced by any member of this board or any principal of any school. That is what you guys are paid to do, is to provide an education, and that is it. If your staff needs a moment of levity, then they are by all means entitled to get that outside of their workplace. I ask that you guys hold the principal to the same standards that you would hold your students. And that is zero tolerance, isn't it? So, that is what I ask of you. That is what your own rules demand of you. Because if you hold your staff to other rules than you do your students, how am I supposed to tell my children to take you guys seriously? How am I supposed to tell my children not to be bullies in your school when your principal has done it? How are any students supposed to feel safe when they have been isolated by somebody that is directly above them and in power?
Please wrap it up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Roseanne Judice, and my son is a freshman at Boulder Creek. I would like to speak to the emotion of the video. I don't know either of these people personally, so I can't speak to that. I can only speak to the experiences my son has had there, and he has come back with some stories. Let me just say that about drugs, about what he's witnessed in the hallways. Clearly, there's an administration problem there. Regardless of who they are as people, what they do in their personal lives, they could be saints for all I know. I don't know. I don't really care. As a person, if I had a job where I acted like this on company time, I used company equipment, and I acted like that, I would be fired, and they would tell me not to let the door hit me on the way out. They use taxpayer dollars, taxpayer equipment, and I, as a taxpayer, don't stand for that. They are in charge of my son's education. That is inappropriate to me. So, again, they could be the nicest people on the planet. I don't know them, and I apologize for that. Clearly misjudgment. However, they should not have done it. Poor taste, poor judgment. They should not be allowed to remain at Boulder Creek. Thank you.
Thank you. Before you get started, let me go ahead and call the next group. We have Rebecca Novick, Angela Hardy, yeah, it just got dark all of a sudden. Peter Erickson, Veronica C., and Michael Steffens. Go ahead and state your name for the record.
My name is Melody Holohan Kopis, and I did not want to come to the board meeting tonight. I had no plans because I don't need any more reminders that my husband and the principal made a huge mistake in uploading that video to the internet. But when I got home from work to find out that they had both received emails and phone calls with death threats, I changed my mind. I'm sorry, but as a teacher librarian, I need to take a moment for a commercial break. If there are any students in here, I know that we preach to you not to put anything on the internet or social media that you do not want the world to see. Let these administrators be an example of the consequences. After the meeting where this video was shown, they had the most positive responses to any meeting ever because the staff members had background. They knew that the staff member who portrayed the president was a supporter and the other was a supporter of another candidate. But they worked together well. Their politics do not make a difference. They tease each other and they work together well. When they had the positive response, teachers were asking for copies of the video because they wanted to show their spouse. They had staff members who missed the meeting and were asking for copies so they could see what everyone was laughing about.
Please
they had
wrap it
staff
up.
members wanting to know why they didn't get a cabinet position. The only complaint was from a staff member who
Ms.
was
Kopis,
not happy with
please
the
wrap
data.
it up.
Okay. Now we have two administrators with over 30 years each devoted to education, sitting at home getting death threats
Your
for a project
time
meant
is
to
up.
highlight their staff
I'm
and
sorry, Ms.
students'
Kopis, your time
accomplishments.
is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Hello, my name is Rebecca Novicki. I have 6 children in the Deer Valley School District, one that's graduated from Boulder Creek, one who's currently a freshman, and a third who would have been graduating this summer, except last year at the end of a long, grossly mishandled bullying incident. She went from a straight A honor roll student to Boulder Creek dropout. The reason this video hit home for us is because a large part of the way that was handled was directly from the 2 individuals in the video. We feel what they showed in the video showed what we've seen all along with our interactions and with several parents that we have talked to as well that have expressed to us their fear in going to those administrators because they said explicitly to us, we don't want to happen to our kid what happened to yours. They built a wall around the perpetrators and the bullies, and my kid was the loser, the moron, the idiot that was kept out. And they succeeded. She's out. She won't be graduating. Her high school experience is over. I feel that the judgment they showed was deplorable, and now it's on a nation stage. I've been told I have a motive for going after them, and that is absolutely true, I do. My motive is this school should be a safe and respectful environment for everyone. And we need to send a message to our students, our parents, and the rest of the world that we take education seriously and that we won't stand for this kind of disrespect to our students, our parents, and our teachers. Thank you.
Please wrap. Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Hi, my name is Angela Hardy. Thank you for letting me speak. Last week I sat through yet another meeting over the state of the school after a full day of teaching, and we were all exhausted. But our principal, as always, did her best to entertain us, and as this video was playing, we were all laughing, having a good time, and left the meeting in good spirits, which is kind of rare, so that was nice. And honestly, I'm completely dumbfounded at the reaction that people have had to this parody. Now, I know it's been a while since we were all in school, but a parody is an imitation of a style of a particular writer, artist, genre with deliberate exaggeration for comic effect. You could also say this video was a satire, which is the use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule, particularly in the context of contemporary politics or other topical issues. These are concepts that we teach our students in English, and they are regularly displayed in television shows like Saturday Night Live. From what I could discern, people have 2 main issues with the video. One, I feel, is actually legitimate. There was a part where parents and students were ridiculed, and though it was meant to be funny, it was clearly missing the mark. The second reason is the political nature of the video itself. The video wasn't played in front of our students. In fact, unless you as a parent or as a concerned community member played it for your children, they would have never seen it. In addition, the adults in that audience went on to teach science, math, English, and the arts as we do every day with nary a mention of politics. And that you are demanding that a wife and mother lose her job and a father lose his career is reprehensible, ugly, and shameful.
Your
I
time
stand
is up.
behind Jay Kopis and Lauren Sheehan.
We can't. We're not going to be able to stop them.
Good evening. My name is Peter Erickson, and my wife and I are proud teachers at Boulder Creek High School, and even more proud that our daughter is a freshman student there as well. Our school is a place of learning and a place of love. Under the leadership of our principals, Boulder Creek is an extraordinary place to work and a great place for students to learn. I do not know the individuals that have been portrayed so negatively on social media and on the news. As a department leader, I have had countless conversations and meetings with our administrators and have only witnessed positive attitudes concerning students, staff, the community. Nobody cares more about kids, their learning, and well-being than do our principals. I am thankful for the entire administrative team, all the members, and the great people in this room on our campus and in the community that are here to support them. These are the ones whose messages of love, not hate, of forgiveness, not judgment, that are really teaching our kids how to be better people and kinder human beings. Mark Twain said, "If you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you read the newspaper, you're misinformed." I believe there might be a lot of misinformed people as to who the principals are, what they stand for, and what Boulder Creek is all about. Thank you.
can I ask that you please, we are never going to get through this. We need you to stay seated. We're not here to applause. We need to allow these people to have their say. So I'm asking that you please be respectful of the speakers and contain your glee from either direction, because we need to allow these people to speak. That's what they're here for, okay? State your name for the record.
My name is Veronica C. I'm the secretary at Boulder Creek High School. Thank you in advance for the opportunity to speak. I've been working at Boulder Creek High School since 2005, second year that the school was opened. My principal is a second principal assigned to Boulder Creek High School and has done some amazing things for our school and the community. I'm confused, I'm sad, I'm angry and disappointed that this video that was not intended to offend anyone got out of control by a small vocal minority. The principal is a tremendous and amazing boss. She has made a difference at Boulder Creek. She is a fabulous leader, efficient manager, and she's an extraordinary person for staff, students, parents, and myself. I hope you can see that and that this video does not define who they are. Thank you.
Thank you. If you could please state your name for the record.
My name is Michael.
Oh, yeah, let me go ahead and call the next set. I'm sorry, Kim, can you restart that? We have Jennifer Martin, Mayon Covert, Ron Baer, Joe Archivaleta. I'm thinking I might have slaughtered that one too. And a Jessica Hart. Sorry. What's the name? Let me look. Oh, it doesn't say. I will hold this one aside. You can do that one later, okay? Go ahead and state your name for the record.
My name is Michael Stevens. I'm the father of a student at Boulder Creek High School. I came to comment on the now well-publicized actions of the principal and vice principal. I was disappointed by the video. I know many were offended by the content. The context doesn't make it any better. The fact that this was done as a lighthearted skit at the beginning of a meeting on school district time actually makes the matter worse. If I were a young staff member with opposing political views, I would have felt as though I could not be myself around my boss and the colleagues who were laughing in agreement with the skit. I would hate to think that a culture exists at Boulder Creek that would discourage diversity of thought. We try to heal the rift that came about as a result of a contentious and at times hostile election cycle. We try to teach our children how to be tolerant of others with opposing viewpoints. Behavior like this is antithetical to the ideals we strive to instill in our students. The fact that this was recorded and then uploaded to social media shows extreme lack of judgment. We're always telling our children that the internet is more permanent than a bad tattoo. Be careful what you post, show good judgment, and then the people who are responsible for their education are seen on the internet exercising extremely poor judgment. Regardless of the intent, harm was done. I believe their actions have betrayed a community trust. This includes students, parents, coworkers, and the greater community. Regardless of the decision, whatever the outcome is, healing must take place in the Boulder Creek community. I would strongly encourage you to think on ways to accomplish this. Parents and students need to know that their concerns are important. The current environment is not conducive to that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. State your name for the record, please.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman, governing board members. My name is Dr. Weitenheimer, Myung Covert. Unlike many people who are in this room, I'm a volunteer. I've been at Boulder Creek High School since the doors opened. I know the first principal, I know this current principal, and I know the other administrator. So let's just get everything out in front. The situation that happened was a horrible, horrible case of bad judgment. Poor taste, an egregious absence of probably thinking things through. It happened. But you also have to take into consideration the two people that are at stake and on the platform right now. The principal came in 9 years ago. She came into very choppy waters. And for those of you who don't know, Anthem thinks that and I live in Anthem, so I can say this. Anthem is kind of a unique community, okay? So with that being said, there was a lot of things that were going on. The principal came in, she calmed the water. She's been there for 9 years. Do I always agree with Mrs. Sheehan? Absolutely not.
Don't use names.
I don't. So with that, excuse me, I don't always agree with her. But I have seen her work tirelessly for 9 years. Football games, dances, recitals. The secretary that just spoke, she will tell you that there's always a door open, that the high school is one of the best high schools to work for. The other administrator has been at the high school since the school door opened. He has a vision. He's dedicated. He cares passionately about our community. It's a regrettable situation that happened. I have spoken to parents, I've spoken to staff, and I've also
Please wrap it up.
This is a situation where the action from the governing board and the administrators needs to commensurate
Ms. Culver,
what is
your
taking
time
place.
is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening, board members, Mr. Superintendent, parents, and taxpayers. My name is Ron Bayer. I think most of you know me. I've served 12 years on this board. Okay, as stupid and ridiculous as the video at Boulder Creek is, this is symptomatic of a failure of leadership in the Deer Valley School District. There's an old saying that goes, the fish stinks from the head down. The parents, taxpayers, and people in general of this district deserve and expect to have the highest quality leadership. One of the most disturbing things about this is some of the posts that came out on social media. One of them made some extremely serious allegations that the assistant principal was running a pay-for-play scheme for several years. If true, this could be a criminal offense. Based on this information, I request that the Deer Valley Unified School District Board commission an independent investigation so there is no cover-up. This administration has proven that they are incapable of doing an investigation. They will either do a cover-up or a witch hunt. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Joe Archivalletta. I have a son who graduated from Boulder Creek last year and a younger son that attends Desert Mountain School. I myself am a third-generation public servant. I work for the government. My grandfather was the assistant chief of police for the city of Phoenix. My mother was a school teacher for 33 years. Public servants need to be held to a higher standard. It doesn't matter what they've done in their past. All the trust and everything can be gone in an instant with bad judgment. On a personal note, my son was being bullied by the varsity baseball coach. I met with the former athletic director. Prior to this athletic director, things went nowhere. Last year, as a senior, he was bullied by the coach again. I met with both the principal and the athletic director. Things were swept under the rug. I think a few of you were privy to my emails. I did copy you on them, Ms. Ordway. Doctor, you were copied on my emails, and I can send them.
Please restrain from using names.
Yes, okay.
Thank you.
Nothing was done about it. Things were swept under the rug. I was lied to by the principal. The investigation did not take place. She was supposed to respond to me, never did. I had to reach out to her. Nothing happened. There is no accountability in the school district. This board failed to act on it. I met with the district athletic director. Things were swept under the rug. It's a shell game at that school. It's cronyism. They're protected from the top down, and it's time that things are fixed over there. It's time for you guys to make the tough decision, be leaders, and do what you need to do. Don't tuck your heads. Don't put your head in the sand like an ostrich like you guys have been doing. Handle your business. Thank you.
Please wrap it up. Thank you. Please state your name for the record.
My name is Dr. Wilson Hart, and I have 3 kids, 1 who's graduated and 2 in the school right now. I'd like to take a moment to remember that in the Pledge of Allegiance we talked about liberty and justice for all. I would like to thank all of our educators for the time that they give to our children, and they feel that they do not receive near enough praise, and here is more evidence of more criticism for these people who are not paid enough for what they do. I've personally had amazing support from the principal in question, and I can understand that parents have a concern. Everybody has the right to have a concern, but do these parents understand what they've started, learning that there are death threats now to our staff over something that has simply hurt their feelings or offended them? This has become a very serious national issue. I think that these staff members obviously were simply giving a parody. It was meant to be funny. It was meant to be private. And if there is an issue with it, a staff member should have taken it to a higher member within the organization. This is something that is none of our business, and I believe it is an utter waste of your time and of the school's time and of our taxpayer money, where you should be educating our children and spending your time working on issues related to that. Thank you very much.
Wrap it up. Thank you. I would like to thank everyone for coming and providing their comments. We cannot comment back. This is a personnel matter, and it must go through its appropriate process, which is private to our individuals. We're going to take just a couple minutes to allow anybody who wishes to leave to do so. We have a full agenda of regular business that we need to take care of. You're welcome to stay, but you're welcome to go if you'd like. I don't know, but does that mean I can go get my chapstick? I left it in there and I'm dying. It's like my lips are just, I'm gonna.
Kim, we need to vote for a recess.
You're right. We're gonna go ahead and call a recess. Can I get a motion? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll tell Kim. Yeah, we'll write it down. So 8:01. 5.
Yeah, I'm just gonna stay.
Ms. Frank, please come join us. That's why I said, Ms. Frank, please come join us. Okay, and we got to bring it back. Do we have to vote to resume? I don't think so. Okay, Ms. Frank. All right. I've never taken a recess before. Do we have to vote to come back into session? Yes, we did.
We voted.
Yes, we did. We called it and we voted at 8:01.
Vote to come back
Yes. Okay. I'll tell you afterwards, Kim.
So
can I get a motion?
I will make a motion that we end recess and begin the regular, resume the regular meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next on our agenda is reports. However, Dr. Weitenheimer has requested to make a statement, and we are going to grant him the floor.
Thank you, President Fisher and members of the Governing Board, for allowing me a moment of personal privilege. The last few days have been very difficult ones for our district and our community, and I want you to know that I'm committed to finding a resolution to the situation that allows all of us to get refocused on the business of educating children. That is why it's so difficult for me to make the following announcement. As you know, and what is now public information, I'll be retiring from the Deer Valley Unified School District on June 30th of this year. As I've shared with you in executive session, it was a difficult decision because of the amazing students, parents, employees, and community of Deer Valley. I started my career in 1980 as an elementary school teacher in Austin, Texas, never dreaming that some 37 years later I would be retiring as the superintendent of one of the most extraordinary school districts in Arizona. 37 years. Do I look that old? I have served as the proud superintendent of the Deer Valley Unified School District for 5 years, and for each of those years, I have encouraged, cajoled, demanded that we commit to grow, accept change, and continue to improve. I expect those things from the people I work with and for. I expect those things from myself. They are more than words to me. They are a call to action. This is the time in my personal life to walk that walk. Mrs. Weitenheimer, this is our time. I want to publicly thank so many people, special people, that have made and make the difference to me each and every day over the course of the past 5 years. I'll start with the tens of thousands of students and parents who choose the Deer Valley Unified School District and the 3,000 plus employees who call Deer Valley home and do noble work each day and every day to improve the life of a child. Teachers, aides, principals, custodians, and all the marvelous staff that make this district such a special place, I say thank you. Senior leaders, my executive cabinet, I started 5 years ago with a goal to work alongside the very best, and while I have not accomplished all of my goals, I did accomplish that one. You are an amazing group of dedicated leaders, and I'm deeply indebted to each of you. You taught me a great deal more than you know. And to the governing board, past and present, I want to thank the team of 5 who in 2012 stepped outside of Arizona and into Texas and allowed me to serve. To each member who has served or who is serving, thank you for your commitment to this community in spite of all the odds. I encourage you to continue to work to improve our district and public education in our state. They say it takes a village, and in Deer Valley we have just that. Great people doing great things every day for our kids. I will miss being part of this village, but know that great things will come here and great things will be there for me in retirement. I'm 100% in until I leave at the end of June, and I know there's much to be done. So without further ado, Madam President, let's get on with this meeting.
Thank you. Governing board reports. Who wants to go first? Ms. Swordway?
Well, gee. Okay. I will save emotionalness till another point and talk about a fun run that occurred Saturday. In the midst of the storms we had, Desert Mountain Blackhawks were the recipients of Blue Skies and Sky Made Lakes. So Ms. Fisher was there. We made sure that people were safe in the back and nobody was left behind. Ms. Paul was there, and she was kind of in the front and getting sick. But Dr. Weitenheimer, I will tell you that being part of the board that jumped out and got you, I know that you enjoyed your field trips and your life inside that small fishbowl for a while, or in Deer Valley. Maybe you were on the field and we were watching you, but it was a great decision. And I will miss you, but you will not be missed for the things that you have done. Will stay. Thank you.
Ms. O'Brien?
I would like to thank Dr. Weitenheimer for his service and dedication and leadership, which I know will remain with us long after he has gone on to enjoy a well-deserved retirement with Mrs. Weitenheimer. And it has been a privilege to serve so far with him, and I look forward to the next 6 months. Good luck with that. So I would like to thank the Deer Valley Education Foundation for all the grants that they were able to award tonight. We have, it just continues to show the amazing educators we have in our district and the incredible and creative ways they choose to educate our children. So thank you to Marie Brennan and to Charlie Philippic for that. I have been carefully watching the legislature the last couple of weeks and would just like to share with all that a representative has introduced legislation. I believe it's HB 2185 about, and I promised to bring it back, but the Maricopa Reentry Center is located at the Adobe Juvenile Center, which houses juveniles. And that legislation is to return the juveniles back to the counties, and it also calls for getting rid of the Juvenile Department of Corrections, which would leave a very large empty building between Happy Valley and Pinnacle Peak Road. I just make all of you aware of this because it could have ramifications for our district. I don't know, there's nothing in the legislation about what would come of that building. So I am watching because I am concerned about what could happen on that state trust land and what might happen with the juveniles that are there. And I would encourage all of you to watch the legislation. There's lots of education bills, and this is the most important one for me right now, given the impact it could have on our Deer Valley community. So with that, thank you. I have one more thing. I apologize. Can I have one more thing? I do want to thank Dr. Miller because our community reached out to in concern about the vandalism that has occurred over the years on the hill that is on the O'Connor property. And so we are working with Dr. Miller, community members, Mr. Miglerino, and we'll be working with the State Trust Land Department to hopefully return our little hill over by OC to a very beautiful desert looking, again, as opposed to a lot of graffiti up there. So thank you, I apologize.
Okay, Ms. Tweedy.
I would also like to wish Dr. V well in his retirement and to thank you for your service and your commitment to continue working with us to ensure a smooth transition. And I would also like to thank the Deer Valley Education Foundation for all the grants. you do so many great things for teachers, and I was actually the recipient of one of your grants when I taught here, and I was able to do so much for my students with that. So it's so appreciated in the classroom. It really does benefit our students.
Mrs. Frank.
Well, I've only been on the board 2 weeks, but somehow it feels like it's been longer. Please don't tell me I've aged already. I also would like to wish Dr. V well on his upcoming retirement. I'd like to thank him for welcoming me to the governing board, in spite of all the times I stood up at public comments. Or maybe because of all. You don't have to answer that. And I look forward to his continued support as we work together during the remainder of the school year. I'd also like to acknowledge the parents and community members who have emailed me or contacted me. I have read everyone's email. I have not had a chance to respond to all of them, but I do intend to let everyone know that I have read their email, although I cannot comment on any matters. But I do read and appreciate the public input and take it quite seriously. So I think that's it for my report.
I'm going to read my notes backwards. Miss Ordway and I did do a 5K at Desert Mountain. I just have to say it's really wonderful to see the desire to bring health and wellness to our kids, and the example that the parents see that they bring, and they bring the kids there. The kids need to see us move. They need to see us move because they move, even if we're chubby and slow, like some of us. Let your kids see you move, and it was really refreshing to see that all different types of people were out there. You'd be surprised some can really run. Just saying. I also want to congratulate Cheryl Paul. I don't think she's here because she wasn't feeling well. We made her sick. But she did do a half marathon over Martin Luther King weekend. And she rocked it. She did a great job. She was walking fine afterwards and everything, and still ran the 5K the next weekend. I mean, she actually ran. I walked. And then, wow. It's been, sorry. It's been a really long 2 weeks. The first week I asked him for another year. And this week I celebrate that he's going to retire and be with his wife. Sorry, I'm kind of a baby. James, I want you to know we really appreciate what you've brought. Strategic planning, a mission and a vision to move forward. I will be needing a volunteer to fight with me, and I'm going to need a volunteer to send me books to read, and you can still send me books to read. But I want the staff to know that we are going to get through this. Dr. V has given us a wonderful strength and foundation. Love him or hate him, and for me that's like, I don't know, multiple times in the day, just changes. And he's very patient, and I have learned so much in the last 2 years that from him in my career and guidance. And I've only worked with him every other week. So for the staff members, I know it's going to be hard on you, and we will stand by you, and together and with Dr. V, we will all find our way to move forward, and we will all stand together and band together as we have to. So Dr. V, thank you, and hopefully I'm done crying for a little while. Let's move on. Superintendent's current events.
Well, thank you, and thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that very much. I look forward to working very diligently for the next 5 months to be sure that everything is in order, and I expect everyone that works with me and for me will do the same. It would be disingenuous to say that there are no current events in our district. There are plenty. I just don't think we need to talk about them anymore tonight. And so I would like to conclude the superintendent's report by again thanking the board and thanking this district, and asking Jenna if she's ready for the staffing update.
Good evening. Hello. Good evening, President Fisher, Governing Board members, and Dr. Weitenheimer. Tonight, I am pleased to present highlights of our upcoming 17-18 staffing cycle, including upcoming renewal timelines and recruitment fairs. On January 9th, Human Resources posted principal, assistant principal, and teacher on assignment positions to begin building an applicant pool for the 17-18 school year. The positions will remain posted through January, and they will close on February 1st. At that time, we will screen all applicants through a paper process and a screening interview. Those selected to be included in the pool will be put forward as candidates, along with internal candidates, for any building level administrative vacancy we intend to hire for from this February all the way up until the end of this staffing cycle. January staffing meetings. This is for our normal staffing cycle. If you recall, during our study session, I described in more detail what we do during these meetings. But as a review, all of our buildings are coming in to meet with Human Resources to review their staffing allocations. We do update enrollment at that time if there's a significant difference in the enrollment between the time the staffing sheets were built compared to how what the enrollment is today, and open enrollment applications are included in that meeting too. We discuss certification changes. If you haven't already become aware, there are some changes coming from ADE for our 6th grade through 12th grade teachers, as well as our special education teachers. So we do discuss specific employees and their certification. We also review best hiring practices. We review negotiated staffing agreements, and we also review the staffing timelines with all of our building administrators. We will begin spring staffing on February 13th. On the 13th, all campuses who have vacancies will be allowed to post those vacancies for on-campus reassignment. Any person that would like to be interviewed or considered for that position and is properly certified to take that position may voice their interest to their building level administrator. On February 17th, we will open up district-wide, so any current vacancy that is not filled on that campus will now be posted, and internal candidates can apply for those positions. And that lasts all the way up through February 28th is when HR needs to be notified of any movement all through the district. And at that time, I request a list of employees who are on what we call a surplus list. These are people that are on a campus that we don't have enough staffing for on that campus, and so I then find a placement for them. I work with them and building level administrators to find a location for them to work the following school year. We also will allow any full-time limited employees to have first choice at those positions, and then we also look at any letters of intent that we have already obtained at a job fair could be placed at that time. And then upcoming renewal timelines. If you recall, per policy CBA, HR must present to the governing board the list of recommended certificated and administrative exempt employees for renewal by February 15th. The board can take action on that list at the second meeting in February, should they choose. Once we have approved the list of renewals, we may issue contracts to our certificated employees for the 17-18 school year. And please note that once we do issue those contracts, they have 15 business days to sign their contract. Our hope is that in March we will be able to do that, but we do consider that there is a spring break in that March timeline, so those 15 days could be at the front of that break as well as the back of that break. We do intend also to issue classified appointments in April, and we do also usually issue administrative exempt contracts during the month of April, sometimes early May, but our hope is early April. Recruitment. Coming up in February, we have our transportation job fair. This was a successful event last year. On the 13th, U of A. West Valley Ed Career Fair is on the 21st. And then moving into March, we are going to be going to Utah, to the Southern Utah Teacher Fair. We will attend, of course, the Great Arizona Teach-In on the 25th. In April, Northern Arizona is holding their job fair up in Flagstaff this year rather than down in the valley. And on the 5th, we will be attending the Greater Philadelphia Job Fair. On the 8th, we hold our own DVUSD Certified Fair. This would be the third time we have done that, our third annual event. And then the 19th is the last job fair offered by universities, and that's the Grand Canyon University Fair. We do also hope to hold our classified job fair possibly in May. Last year we held it in July, but we might hold it a little bit earlier, maybe May or June this year. And I'll take any questions.
A couple. Okay. Ms. Tweedy and then Ms. Ordway.
I just had one question. How does it work now if staffing is being reduced at a school? How do they determine which staff member has to transfer?
Per the certified manual, reductions are based on seniority.
Oh, it's seniority still?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Ms. Ordway.
You mentioned something about changing in 6th grade certification. Could you elaborate on that?
Explain. A few years ago, legislatively, we changed certification to be 612 instead of 712. And because they changed it to 612, our 6th grade teachers now require a subject certification instead of K6 certification. So if our 6th grade teachers choose to departmentalize, then they would need to have that subject listed or that endorsement listed on their certification.
Is that new for this year? And when does this have to be completed?
It's effective opening next year, opening the school year next year. So we've been educating and transitioning. There are also some proposals to loosen some of those restrictions, knowing that there is a teacher shortage.
Right. I was going to say I've been listening to Diane Douglas and what she's been weighing in on. I was just wondering how many, if you know this number, because I didn't send you a question, what would be the amount, do you think?
The amount of teachers that would
Yeah.
need? Based on we're about halfway through our staffing meetings. I would say that many of our principals are thinking creatively because there are options, and so there aren't doesn't seem to be a significant amount of people that are going to need to go take a test to be able to be properly certified to teach that class. But there are some.
Okay. Next question is with the high school numbers. And I don't know what what you guys have talked about, but we always talk about we've got 2,700 in this school and there's only 1,500 in that school. I don't know how you've looked at the staffing for a school that goes under a certain number for an assistant principal to lose the secretary as opposed to adding one to a school that may have twice as much work, because it just seems that there's so much work for them to do that to share someone between a principal or two assistant principals may not be so efficient, but I was just wondering about that. So
President Fisher, Mr. Ordway, staffing sheets were developed over the holiday break. And those staffing sheets those are our allocations for each campus. And those were developed strictly off of our current formulas. So that in that case, in your scenario that you're asking about, you would see a reduction. We do, however, right now have a work team developing a proposal to be put forward on base staffing at all school configurations, K6, K8, and high school. Should that proposal be approved, that would then, based on what they proposed, though, that's going to be coming in March, then that would be the new staffing standard. and you potentially would not see that reduction based on enrollment.
And if that works out that way, a recommendation would be accepted, would that affect next year's?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And your report was fabulous. Thanks.
Ms. O'Brien?
Yes, please. On the building administrative staffing process, is there just one opportunity for staff to apply for openings for an administrative position, or are there multiple opportunities?
Right now, we're hoping to leave it open long enough to gather enough applicants to have a very big pool. We found ourselves last year opening it up a few times, and that was due to a couple of reasons. One is that we grabbed from that pool on many occasions. Other reasons, they go to a different district and they find a position somewhere else, and so they take themselves out of consideration. We are happy to reopen should we need to gain more applicants for a particular vacancy. So, for example, if we know we have a high school vacancy or a middle school vacancy, and we don't have the type of candidates we hoped to have, or all of our candidates happen to be elementary candidates, then we need to open that pool back up and seek middle and high candidates. Did that answer your question?
It does answer my question. Does, and I'm not sure if Dr. Weitenheimer, if I should address this to you. I guess my concern is that if somebody originally doesn't put their name into the pool of applicants, but then a position comes up later at a school that they would want to. So is it a generic, please put your name in the hat if you think you might want to go somewhere, and then if they're not interested in a position, they can just bypass the interview process and stay where they're at? Is that fair? Or, sorry.
The intent of the process is to build a pool of candidates for any vacancy that may become available, and that is how it is advertised. We do receive calls for clarification on that. Am I applying for a specific school? And we let them know you're applying to go through the screening process. And when we post or notify every one of those vacancies, you then will be allowed to go forward for those vacancies. But our intent is to create a very rich pool to draw from.
Okay, thank you very much for that explanation.
And if I might add, then we began to use some of the tools that we talked about to find best fit. So you big pool, and then you begin to meet, talk to, and assess strengths against the needs of the particular position.
Okay.
And we can do that a little bit better because we've added some tools to our tool bag to make that happen.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that explanation.
Ms. Frank?
Just to go back and revisit the sixth grade certification changes. So if I understand it correctly, if sixth grade is departmentalized and a teacher is only teaching one subject, then that teacher needs to pass the content area test. But if a sixth grade teacher is teaching all subjects, they're good.
That is true.
Okay. All right. I can't make sense out of nonsense. So for those teachers who currently, or those schools that are currently departmentalized with staffing coming up, let's say there's a teacher or two teachers at a grade level that need to take the test, how is staffing going to work for that if they haven't passed the test? How does that work?
We will allow for a grace period, knowing that is the case. However, if a principal decided that they wanted a science sixth grade teacher and that is the certification they wanted, and they posted that in district, then that probably is exactly what they're looking for. They may call us and ask for a grace period because they're taking the test in a couple of weeks or next month. But on your own campus, that would not be a problem because we have so many options on your own campus that you would not need to re-interview everyone on your own campus.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I appreciate the report, and I think we have a pretty good process. The only question I have is, where are we at compared to last year? Are we nervous?
As far as is how many vacancies we think we might be posting. We don't know yet. I could probably answer that question in actually on the day we end up posting them as they start to come in.
Okay, just kind of to see where we're at and watch the poll, because I know it's a small pond.
We start to learn who might be resigning at that point, but really contract time is our best option of knowing when or how many vacancies we might have for the following year.
Okay, all right, thank you. Moving on, fiscal and business services, Jim.
President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Weidenheimer, we have 3 reports to share with you this evening, and I'll, just in the interest of time, I'll try and be brief with at least the first 2. The enrollment report through January 12th of this year, day 95, we're down just about 1%, or 326 students, which is about the number that we've seen of recently. Before I move on, I just want to pause here to make sure there's no questions regarding the enrollment report. The district financials for December, I should have noted just for the record, we're a little off cycle. Normally these reports are given at the first meeting of the month, and due to the timing of when our meeting was, our first meeting in January, we're sharing with those with you this evening. The district financials for the month of December, we are showing a projected carry forward at M&O of just under $500,000 at $492,000. Comparing that to November, so month over month, we're up about $50,000. So we were $440 in November, $490 in December. Comparing year over year, December of last year to December of 2015 to December of 2016. I make sure I get my years correct with the fact that we just changed the calendar over. We were at $390,000, so about $100,000 year over year change to the good for us. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions regarding the financial reports.
Seeing none?
Next. If not, okay. We also have the preliminary budget projection for fiscal year 18. If I can emphasize any word on this, it would be the word preliminary. You'll probably hear it a number of times. This is the preliminary budget report for fiscal year 18. It is early in the process as we start to develop the budget, but the purpose of this is to kind of give you a lay of the land as we see it today. Obviously, the legislature has just started. We do have the governor's budget to at least look forward to, at least a direction from one branch. But it's still early to know exactly what we might see in terms of legislative impact. And we have not yet even started to finalize any of the student numbers that make up a good portion of our budget. So just kind of running through this quickly, just as a reminder, fiscal year 18 will require us to utilize current year funding. It'll be the first year that will be subject to that. And we are projecting a slight decline in enrollment, not only as we just mentioned in this year, but also into next year as well. So we'll have to endure 2 years worth of declining enrollment in 1 year in fiscal year 18. It does provide an inflationary amount, and I'm just going to point out the JLBC inflationary amount is the amount we're using. The governor's budget has a different amount, unfortunately a slightly smaller amount than the JLBC has provided, but we're using the JLBC amount. We think it's correct, but it'll have to be reconciled through the legislative process. We do have an increase in our M&O override funds. We mentioned this. Our override was capped at the amount that was in the voter pamphlet when it was voted on in November, and with Proposition 123, it has increased our revenue control limit, so therefore our override increased fairly significantly over what was projected when we first offered the M&O override to the voters to consider. We do have a slight increase in our cash accounts, which we shared previously with the board, and you'll see that number shortly. We have a provision for capital allocation, and we have a decrease in carry forward, final carry forward that we are showing in this year's budget to that $490,000 amount that we just looked at with the December report. On the expense side, because we are declining in students, we also have projected fewer certified staff that are needed as a result of that. But that staffing is still in its preliminary state. As you heard Ms. Moffitt mention that the staffing is ongoing. and several areas have not been included in the numbers that we're showing you this evening. There is an increase in classified staff, namely paraprofessionals, for this year, as well as classified salary costs due to Prop 206. So we believe there's a $150,000 budget impact just to get to the $10 requirement for Prop 206 as of January 1st, 2017, and then the $10.50, it'll be just that second half of the year, January 2018 to June 30th, the end of this fiscal year. We have an increase in our vacation sick leave buyback due to increased demand, increase in hard-to-fill addenda, utility costs. There is a rate case that's before the Corporation Commission. It's about a 6% increase to our budget, slight increase to our property liability insurance, and then the ASRS contribution as well. So if you do all the math on that, $2 million is the reduction in students, $2 million is the inflation, so they almost offset themselves. The M&O override, $700,000, cash accounts, $600,000. They almost offset the carry forward projection. The carry forward projection will probably get better over time. And then the capital allocation, that $1 million will give us a total of $4 million in capital for fiscal year 18. And that is about a 50% reduction in terms of the allocation that we typically would have given, I don't know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whenever we stopped giving capital to schools and that. So the net number there is $1 million less in revenue that we're projecting. On the expense side, we are projecting a smaller expense, again, due to the things that I mentioned previously. And so the net number is $225,000 deficit that we have. So we have revenues that aren't great enough to cover the expected expenses in this preliminary blush of the budget. So I want to pause right here before I move beyond this to see if there are any questions regarding the numbers or how we came up with this.
I just have a question.
Ms. Ordway.
Is there anything that you have heard that would bring additional money from this legislative session into the schools, or is it all not looking in a positive direction to get extra or more money, not extra, because there's never extra money that we get, more money, increased money?
Yes, President Fisher, Ms. Ordway, there is, in the governor's budget, which is probably the best resource that we have at this point in time, there are some provisions for increasing amounts that are not shown here. Most of those are for targeted programs, specifically for teachers, for example, that would go into a specific fund. So even though it could increase the revenue, it would also increase the expenses for a specific purpose. Some people would characterize that as having strings attached to it, but that would be a good thing.
Right, absolutely.
I don't want to characterize it poorly. It just wouldn't help the $225,000 deficit that we see here.
But nothing for from the school facility board, because I know there's been talk that they might try to fund them, or
there has been a provision in the governor's budget to provide for some building renewal grants and for some funding of specific new construction projects that are underway.
But nothing paid back?
Nothing that we feel would impact us.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Ms. O'Brien.
Mr. Miglerino, on the increase for the classified staff and then the classified salary costs due to Prop 206, have we calculated the impact related to substitutes receiving sick time?
President Fisher, Ms. O'Brien, we have not calculated the impact of the leave provision of Prop 206.
Okay.
And we're not sure exactly what that would even look like, because quite honestly, I can't in my mind figure out how to make that function, because we have a seasonal temporary employee that works the minimum 30 hours, and then we have to provide them with leave time, which we would not necessarily do. We would call them and ask them if they would cover a sub day and then tell them that's their day off. I don't understand how that logic works. And even if we were to pay them, then we're required, if we pay them, we have to grant them what they would have earned in advance after we pay them in leave. So we haven't worked that out.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Miglorino.
Doesn't that roll into gift of public funds? I'm just saying it kind of falls under that criteria because we technically don't have to pay it out. They kind of have to take it. But is there any conversation about, I know there's the lawsuits regarding, is that gaining any legs? And if not, is there any talk about support for other entities that are not exempt like the state is and funding to cover this? And then the other question, because you can get me all at once, is there any discussion? I missed the last ASBO. Any discussion regarding funding to assist declining enrollment districts? Because, I mean, the ones that aren't declining, it's not a big deal. But for us who are this current year funding, it's going to be a double whammy.
Yeah, President Fisher, I'm in good company with you. I missed the last ASBO meeting as well. But there is a provision for what I'll call rapid declining districts in the governor's budget. You would have to be declining more than 2%. So we would have to double our enrollment loss to be able to qualify. And all it's going to do is, I think, from a quick read, it's going to give you a safety net that you would be held harmless for anything greater than 2%. And it's unlikely that we are anticipating a 2% loss in students. So no additional funding beyond that. And then the question related to is there any support, and I assume that was in regards to Prop 206. There have been some discussions that I've been that I've heard through the media about some legislative action regarding Prop 206. The court cases that were brought by or through the Chamber of Commerce went through the appeal process, and the judge declined to intervene. So, so legislatively, there may be some action, and there has certainly been some outspoken legislators about Prop 206, including the governor himself. So there may be legislative action in regards to Prop 206, but that's the best news that I have heard regarding it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none.
Okay, I have a couple more slides I wanted to just share with you, but these are repeat slides that were as a result of the December 7th board study session. So this is in regards to the NST. So the negotiation solution team has, I did send them this information in advance of this meeting, but we are scheduled to meet on February 14th is our next scheduled meeting. So they have not seen the preliminary budget other than what I have sent to them in the form of an email. But this is just a reminder of what the employee manuals state. And I'm just going to direct your attention to B2, which says the issues to be discussed by the NST will focus on salary, benefits, employee rights, and terms of conditions of employment. So that is what the focus is in the language. I know that there's a future agenda item to talk about NST direction under old business, so I wanted to bring that to your attention. The negotiation solution team last time we did meet, which was 2 weeks ago, did review the considerations that was previously developed, and these are considerations as a result of the Prop 123 increases that were salary increases that were given last year. So this is just a running list of items that that we think needs to be a part of the discussions with NST. They're in no particular order, not meant to be debated this evening, just a starting point, if you will, for other issues. I should have also emphasized that in that $225,000 deficit number, there were no salary increases for employees other than the Prop 206 required for minimum wage. And then finally, our administrative recommendation has not changed since December 7th, is that the just confirm the role of the NST and get board input as to what direction you want us to work towards. If it is to work towards a salary increase, and just if you're interested in a number, a 1% salary increase, just using it as a point of reference, would be about $1.4 million. So 2%, $2.8 million. I'm not trying to draw anybody to just merely 1%. It could be 0.5% for that matter, based on the numbers that we've looked at this evening. And then try and provide some sort of input. When we say early, we're thinking in the early part of February. The direction from the board would be helpful, so that we know that we're trying to work towards something that is not in opposition to what the board would ultimately approve. We do recognize that we are developing a recommendation that the board will ultimately have to consider. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Just kind of a quick clarification. When we last had our study session and we met and we were talking about the budget, I know that there was a lot of expressed interest regarding a budget committee and that type of process. Just for a point of clarification, it is too late to go through that at this point in time, correct?
President Fisher, I would say it's not too late. We had suggested in some additional information that we shared with the board an alternative to that, in which we could open up the NST meetings to a public setting, so that we could provide some input, or to provide other ways that the public could provide input about the budget. We've done so in the past through our website and other outreach efforts, and then use that input to also further the discussions that NST would have regarding the things that would
but
be under their
NST is not for budget. It's for in the language. I don't know how the other board members feel, but I would like to note that I would like for us to at some point do a study session and have the board review the budget in the sense of like a budget committee, like it was done, I believe, in 2014. I don't know. I mean, it's not something we can vote on, but Ms. Ordway.
Prior to last year's grand infusion of Prop 123, we traditionally have kind of lots of study sessions on the budget. So it wouldn't be a departure. It would just be something that we would do.
So I would just, I think sooner rather than later, and I know we have a lot on our plate, but in the Friday update or something, I would like kind of some information of a plan or a guide or something as to how the board can essentially work with a study session and as a budget committee, because it'll be in the next agenda item that we're going to look at, but to give direction, we have to know what we have to give. And so if you can provide us information, and then as a board, we'll decide how to move forward regarding the budget. Anybody else have any questions or?
Just one more comment, because when we do establish, if we do establish that we want to do the study sessions, we're going to have a timeline, and a goal in mind of what the timeline is going to produce.
Correct. That's what Mr. Miclerino would.
And I might also suggest that you be thinking about the target too. I mean, in Jim, the budget, $197 million budget. If you say, look, we want you to find $1.5 million, because we want to give this kind of raise, or $2 million, or we need that kind of direction as well, because if that doesn't happen, then you know what, all of those other sources of revenue that we robbed from for years, I mean, we probably wouldn't choose to do that, or maybe in some cases couldn't choose to do that. But that kind of direction as well, both to Jim as well as to NST, and then.
So yeah, that's part of what I think we're looking for, is just give us that kind of an idea of how we can, what we need. I believe in 2014, or maybe I'm remembering back when I used to do that type of stuff, but putting up kind of a live budget, being able to kind of play with it and see where, if our goal is to give X, where it's at, and then let the board kind of the board with, you know, with, in a study session, public study session, kind of review and see where we're at. So, any other questions or comments or? Nope. Okay, seeing none, we will go on to, what are we in, old business? Sorry, I lost my agenda. Yes.
If you think we're settled on the conversation with NST, would be 7B, the bond, unless you want to have additional conversation or.
Yeah, I believe 7A, did we need to, I mean, because we didn't really discuss, unless there's a different direction, do we need to see the budget first? Or it's old business to give direction to NST?
I would prefer that we have a budget study session.
I think
prior to trying to provide.
Well, I would like to, I guess I
But I
would
think we need to make a
have
motion.
a discussion, though.
We have to make a motion for 7A before we can decide if we're going to discuss or not discuss, right?
Right, so let's go ahead and, let's go ahead and have a motion, and then if we choose to move past, then we do it that way.
Did you want to say anything, Jim?
Well, we
No,
need
I
to
was
make a
just going to
motion
suggest
first.
that they should take some action.
Okay, got it.
since-
Yeah, we need to make a motion first.
So I move that the governing board provide direction to the negotiated solutions team.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
Then did you want to
discussion.
discuss?
Did you
Yeah.
want to give us, I mean, you've already given us the language. Is there additional information you want to provide?
President Fisher, I'm not sure I heard the motion. The motion was to provide direction? I thought it was to refrain from providing direction until the
No, it
study
says the
session?
governing board to
Right,
provide
but
direction
you-
for the negotiate, because we have to go with the agenda, because it's what we adopted.
Right.
Um,
President Fisher, I think if I can help here, Mr. Meglarino, that was the motion, but we didn't have any discussion. And if we were going to move to
Correct.
provide direction, I don't think we should have voted yet.
Correct. We should have discussed.
We should have
then voted.
discussed and then voted on what to do.
You know what, you're right. You're
Why
right,
I
I'm
don't-
sorry, I apologize. That was my error.
Shall I take back,
Yeah, it was ready, fire, aim. We-
No.
we'll
Trying to get
put
through
it
this
there.
agenda, so
I
no.
take back my
I
motion.
don't know if there's,
So, yeah, in 7A.
Well, we have a
if-
motion, we have a second. We
We-
need to have discussion. Sorry.
okay.
Provide direction,
Then
and then,
I guess I would, I don't think that we can provide this direction right now until we have the budget study session and receive some information regarding the budget. So
Okay.
I can,
Ms. Orley?
Well, so I think your direction is you have to wait until we have the study session so we can actually give you
Right.
direction.
The only thing I would say other than that is there other topics that we can give them direction that they can discuss, like working conditions and the other things? It's in their language. Those things I'm not sure that we really need to give them direction on. Or is that something you need?
President Fisher, I don't believe that we need more direction from the language that's already there. It's just if there was something specifically that the board was wanting us to work on within those parameters, that's the direction that NST would appreciate, such as, work towards ensuring that benefits do not change at all monetarily or in plan design. And that's just a for example. And if I could offer a suggestion, since there's a motion and a second on the floor, you can amend that motion, and if the second
Right.
approves that amendment, then you can move that.
And that's why I'm trying to think of how we can even amend it, or do we need to, is there something specific that you're seeking from us? I mean, other than, because we've determined we can't do budget because we need to have a discussion. Is there something regarding the quality of benefits that are currently occurring that we need to know about?
you, just as a point of clarification, since we're kind of out of
Yeah,
whack
it's
on this
kinda
one.
odd, yeah.
You can vote to take no action on this item.
Correct.
Yeah. So, and push it to a conversation where, and Jim's mentioned those options. I mean, we want to give a raise. We want to keep benefits
Right.
flat. Here's an entire list of things that, that are in no particular order. And if at a time And I think I pressed Jim to make sure and tell you what early means. Board direction early.
Right.
It's right around the corner. It's
Right.
the 24th of January, and we need that by the first part of February. So we don't have another meeting until the 14th.
Right.
So that's, I guess.
I have a couple of questions then,
I'm
or
sorry.
maybe statements. I think one of the concerns that I have as a board member is to ensure that because of Prop 206 and the minimum wage increase and what that does to our pay scale, the compression, do we have some numbers on how on looking at that compression? That would be something that as a board member I would want to see the impact of our budget for compression. Sorry, turned my microphone off. I realize that we're going to take a hit 2 times next year for ADM. So how does that impact us? And is there a way to provide a salary increase? I mean, I don't think there's not a board member up here, and I don't want to speak on behalf of my board members, but I think I would like to see us be able to try to give a pay increase. I don't know if that's possible given the hits we're taking in our budget. So if that's something we can see, and if this is the direction that you're looking for to talk about, given the preliminary budget that we just saw, those are a couple that are at the top of the list for me.
Ms. Tweedy, did you have a question or a comment?
I forgot.
Okay. Ms. Frank?
Well, I would think that given the fact that we're in a teacher shortage, it would be important to provide a raise for employees so that we're not losing, and not just teachers, that also affects classified and others, so that we're not continuing to drain our talent pool away to other districts that are able to pay more competitively. So that, I think, should be a priority when looking at the budget.
Okay. Ms. Tweedy, go ahead.
Actually, yeah, I was in agreement with that. I do think we should look at trying to give a raise. I was also curious what we were expecting to happen with the medical benefits, and were we going to be able to absorb the costs of any increase to premiums, how that was going to work?
I think we're kind of getting off target here, because we're talking about for budget, we need to step aside. So, and as far as whether or not we can provide a raise or anything like that, we need to know what the budget is. So that becomes our budget discussion. This agenda item is to give direction for NST. So I think the question I'm trying to drive at, and I'm not sure if maybe I'm just not stating it clear, is are there things that NST can work on that are not financial based currently that they can work on, and then we have our budget, and then we'd see if whatever there is to provide, and we provide it. And the reason I'm asking that question is it's things like we're going to pay X amount for benefits. That's not going to change or will, but we're still going to provide X amount for benefits. So is there possible discussions they can have where, okay, I don't need benefits, but I need to, so discussing what that looks like. Or is there other things regarding their working conditions that, things that, those type of adjustments that aren't specifically based on the budget. Because we have to have that budget conversation to have a dollar amount to say, we would like you to figure out how to do 1% and we'll find the money type thing. We need to find that first. But that's what I'm asking. Is there things that we can give you direction, I guess, that are not just budget-based, like a pay raise is budget-based? Are there, there's a list. We have salary, benefits, working conditions. So if there's other things, I would think, or at least from my opinion, our direction would be to work on the things that are not budget-based, working conditions, things of that nature. Let us get through the budget, and then we'll give direction regarding anything financial. Ms. Ordway.
When is your next NST meeting?
President Fisher, Ms. Ordway, the NST Budget Committee is scheduled for February 14th, but I just wanted to just clarify, there are language committees, both a certified and classified language committee that are ongoing meetings that are working on other changes to the language that could include things that aren't budget related.
So then we should think of a study session before the 14th, and I don't want to talk anymore because we're way off of 7A. Or going in that direction to be way off.
So do we need to modify the agenda or the motion that's on the table based on what this says, is that we're going to provide direction? So does somebody want to change the motion?
I move to amend the motion to take no action.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And
we're going to rewrite that.
and
We're moving on to...
now we have to vote on the amendment. We just voted to amend.
Okay. We have a vote and we have a second and an amendment. All those in favor?
Oh,
yeah,
aye.
of the item.
Aye.
Aye. We're going to have to look at that and see if it's...
Oh, did
yeah,
we not
because
read
that
all
doesn't...
Yeah. No.
So we're on 7
So we didn't reread it.
B. Go and read this one. Yes. this
Okay.
one right here.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendations to consider and, if deemed advisable, adopt a resolution authorizing the issuance and sale of school improvement bonds of the district.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Weidenheimer, I just wanted to share with you, this is the information that we sent, provided to you previously in a preview item from last meeting. That's why it's under old business. I did want to recognize Mr. Jim Giel. He's here, our bond counsel. He has prepared the documents that are before you, both the resolution in which we would need the board president's signature this evening, as well as the bond purchase agreement. This gives us authorization to work towards selling $30 million of the $158 million authorization back from November 2013, and to cover the projects that we had previously shared with the board. So I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
First, I want to thank you for sending this to us ahead of time. Has everybody had a chance to review the bond documents? And does anyone have any questions? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now you're going to go ahead and you're going to move to do the consent agenda.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendations to approve consent agenda items 8A through 8I.
Second.
Any discussion?
You can't have any.
None? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to approve the human resources changes.
Can I get a second?
Just pick an A.
Okay. We have it here. Is there any questions, any comments? Nope. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that the governing board accept the administration's recommendation to revise the classified salary schedule to comply with Proposition 206, effective January 1st, 2017.
Second. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions on this? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have 10A, which is a preview item. Our district calendars. We do have a public speaker. Do we want to present first, or we go on to the public? Okay.
Do you want me to present first?
Yes, please. Yes, we're going to have you present first, and then we'll.
Ready? Okay. Is this on? Okay. Thank you. President, Vice President, of the members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer. My name is Karen Meyer. I have acted as district calendar committee chair for a long time. I did take a hiatus of 1 year, but I came back because it's an interesting thing to do the calendar every year. So I just would like to go to the slide, if we can go to, or do I do it? I don't know how to do it.
Got a slide.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll just kind of go while they're getting it. My committee is comprised of 6 parents, 1 community member, 1 district administrator, 2 campus administrators, 3 certified employees, 2 classified employees, and I act as the facilitator. I know we have Jennifer Martin, who is going to speak. She has been on the committee for quite a while, and she will speak in public comment this evening. And is Martina Burberry, did she? She is. And Martina, thank you for coming and staying and coming this evening. We appreciate it. You've been here for a while, so thank you so very much to all my committee members. They're wonderful, and I appreciate them, as does the district. The purpose of the calendar committee is to discuss options for the 2018-19 calendar and bring recommendations to the board for review. We do not discuss staff development, early release, or full release days. Those are determined by the district, so we are doing just the start, end, and days off. If we go to the next, I would like to, before I just have us take a look at the 2017-18 calendar that was adopted last year, I do want to make a comment about the 2016 calendar we were in right now. Only because I'm sure some of you may have received a complaint or two. I did, as the calendar committee chair, regarding that this calendar did not take off Columbus Day. We had the Monday before that tagged onto a Friday for a 4-day weekend, and that was the recommendation of the committee, and the board did approve that. I think people did not realize that it was not Columbus Day. We have taken Columbus Day since 2006, every single consecutive year except for this year. So I just wanted to make that notation. And also that I'm sure you got complaints on the winter break. I just call it the bad calendar years. They just back up to when Christmas falls, and then they back out, and we have a reprieve, and then they back close up. And so just those comments about our 2016 calendar. So looking at 2017-18, for your review and for our new board members, we have us starting on Monday, August 7th, and I know it's hard for the audience to see, but I'll just kind of run through this. Of course, Labor Day, September 4th. September 21st and 22nd, we have 2 fall break days. Those are happen to coincide with Rosh Hashanah, and that gives us a fall break there. We also do have Columbus Day, October 9th. And then we have, of course, November 10th, the observance of Veterans Day. And in this calendar, we have a week at Thanksgiving. So I'm going to comment on the week at Thanksgiving also. In 2014, we added into our calendar a week at Thanksgiving. And in 2015, we had a week at Thanksgiving. And then this calendar, we have 3 days. Now in 17, we're back to 5 days. As our committee discussed this, the one recommendation they have is, as you look at the 19 calendar, you might, once you've voted it, adopted it, stay consistent with the Thanksgiving holiday, whether it be the whole week or 3 days. The whole committee agrees and recommends to continue to at least have Wednesday off. So in this calendar for 18, we do have the whole week. We do go to December 22nd. We get a one-day reprieve as we back out in this calendar. January 15th, of course, is Martin Luther King, and then we have a full staff development day that we have always in February per district. February 19th, of course, is President's Day, and then in March, notice our spring break goes a little later because it coincides with March 30th is Good Friday. When Good Friday is earlier, we try to put the spring break with it, and then April 27th becomes a spring break day, and then we end school on the 24th and 25th, Thursday with teachers on Friday. And I was lucky enough, when I talk about graduation, we're back to having a perfect set of graduation days the last 2 days, May 24th and 25th. Peoria, I'll speak to that. Okay, so does anybody have, it's a long story. Does anyone have any questions about the 2017-18 calendar? It has been adopted, so it kind of is what is. But I can certainly answer any questions if you would like me to. No? Okay, moving on. Considerations that we look at for the calendar is that it is student-centered. Graduation dates, I will speak to it now. The reason we have interesting graduation dates is because I'm also the graduation coordinator for the district, so it just kind of fits that I know all this. Peoria gets first rights of reservation because they were first school district to come into the University of Phoenix Stadium. Tolleson gets second, we are third, Dysert's fourth, and we kind of go from there. So everything is dependent on what Peoria and Tolleson ask for. And Peoria is interesting. So some years we get our Thursday and Friday, and other years we don't. So we weren't so lucky for this calendar. So I have met with Dr. V back in the fall when we do all this in the summer, and the dates that we reserved were May 20th and May 24th. This is the end. When we look at the calendar, you'll see it's actually the Monday of the last week of school and then the Friday that the teachers are in. So I'm only disrupting 2 high schools versus 5, like we're disrupting this year a little bit. So I'll explain that when you look at the calendar, but that's how the University of Phoenix Stadium works. The last day of school for students thus needs to be May 23rd. Of course, state law requires we have 180 student contact days. The third Wednesday of October is PSAT testing, so we made sure we were in school that day. We want to end the first semester before winter break, and that goes back for a long time due to high school examinations, basically, and the evenness of the semesters. One full staff development day that the district requests, February 6th. We like to balance our days per semester, balance the days off per semester, and then our holidays. At this time, we are taking one Jewish religious holiday in the fall, and Christian holidays, Christmas and Good Friday. And I've listed Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur when they, and Good Friday, and we'll look at those when you see the calendar. And then, of course, we look at the start and end days and holidays for attendance purposes, working parents. And as you know, in any calendar, it will please some people some of the time, but not all of the people all of the time. So if we looked at, before we go to the calendars, I just want you to get a feel for other district calendars. They're all extremely similar to ours. Looking at 2018-19, Peoria starts August 8th, right around we do. You can peruse this. Their graduations, of course, they took the 22nd and 23rd. Some take 5 days, some take 3 days at Thanksgiving. It's just a little variance within the districts. Paradise Valley, starting August 7th, they take both Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. They have 3 days at Thanksgiving, and they end May 23rd. Tolleson starts August 7th. They take a fall break in October. They end May 21st. And Dysart starting August 2nd. They get a little more, they take a fall break and a few extra days off ending May 23rd. So that kind of gives you a comparison of some of our surrounding districts. So if we were to look, we're bringing you from the committee 2 options this evening. Option 1, please let's review that, starts on Tuesday, August 7th. It is taking September 10th off. September 10th is the first day of Rosh Hashanah. October 5th and 8th, we added in an extra day. They decided to give a 4-day weekend, and October 8th is Columbus Day. November 12th is the observance of Veterans Day. This one is 3 days at Thanksgiving. In this calendar, we're up to December 21st. As I said, we're backing out. February 6th is staff development. And I'll go back. January 21st is, of course, Martin Luther King, and February 18th, President's Day. Our spring break is 18 through 22. The committee was much in favor of April 19th and 22, of putting an extra day in April for a 4-day weekend, and it does coincide with Good Friday. And then ending school on this calendar, May 23rd. And then you note my graduations are May 20th and 24th. The schools that graduate on May 20th have a half day of school, and that's how an early release day, and that's how we can hold those 2 graduations for the families and for the seniors. So that is option 1. So if we could turn to option 2, then you can ask any questions, okay? Option 2. Okay, option 2, we have moved back a day starting Monday, August 6th. They have September 10th again, 1 day in October versus 2, October 8th, Columbus Day. And here, if you look in November, they have put 5 days for the Thanksgiving break. The rest of the calendar is identical to what I just went through with option 1. So those are the differences. And those are the 2 options that the committee is recommending for you to consider. Do you have any questions?
We have one public comment. So let's go ahead and get the public comment. So Jennifer Martin, do we need to reread it? She was here during the last one, so I know she's been here through them all. I know. So just step up and state your name for the record. You earned your 3 minutes.
Yay! Past my bedtime. Just kidding. My name is Jennifer Martin. President Fisher, members of the governing board, Dr. Weidenheimer. We've been residents of Sierra Verde for 14 and a half years. I'm the mom of a current 8th grader at Sierra Verde, a Mountain Ridge sophomore, and an NAU senior who's also a graduate of Mountain Ridge. So we've been around a while. Once again this year I had the privilege of serving on the calendar committee, and I call it a privilege because this committee has the ability to affect change, set examples, and help the district set a calendar from year to year, which is pretty powerful stuff. I'm proud to serve, not as the voice of a staff member, a teacher, or an administrator, but as a parent, and I'm thrilled to have Karen back working with us because she's amazing. You know that, though. You know that, though. But anyway, so as I said, I'm here tonight to voice the opinion as a parent, a working parent, in a dual income household. Luckily, my kids are older now. However, I would like you to consider all of the dual income families across the district that do have young kids. They do have to have a babysitter when they're not home, and for whom taking the entire week off at Thanksgiving does pose a problem. Yes, it's nice to have time off from school. Yes, it's nice to plan trips at the holidays. Yes, it would be great if it suited everyone. However, that is just not the case. For this reason, I would like to encourage you to strongly consider calendar option 1, for the 18-19 school year, providing for the Wednesday through Friday off at Thanksgiving in lieu of the entire week. The point in providing calendar options from which the board chooses each year should most certainly take into account what is fair for all across the district, but namely the stakeholders. Those of us who reside within the district, who have children attending schools in the district, that includes parents who find themselves in a bind when they have to find alternate arrangements during a holiday week for their kids, which is not always easy because they still have to work. Some people don't even get the Wednesday off before Thanksgiving. Some only get Thanksgiving. And in our committee, I think we have a parent that doesn't even have Friday off after Thanksgiving. Over the past year, I've had conversations with both those who were happy about having the full week and those who weren't. Kind of just like Columbus Day, it all came down to I want to be able to travel thing. And quite frankly, I know that there will never be a one-size-fits-all resolution that makes everyone happy. Like Karen said, you can please some, but not all of the time. However, we do need to find that happy medium and a fair and equitable balance. We have 2.5 months off during summer. We have 2 weeks off over winter break, a week off over spring break. Plenty of time for people to plan vacations around a school year. It should not be the other way around. Priorities. That said, I again would like you to strongly consider option 1 for the calendar choice for the 18-19 year, as I feel it really meets the needs of the masses while being fair to both our students as well as our district families, our dual income working district families. I thank you for all that you guys do. I know it's a very daunting task, thankless at times, but please know that families like ours appreciate what you do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Karen?
I do have one.
Ms. O'Brien.
Karen, in option 1, you said that the committee felt, I don't know if strongly was the word, but they decided to add the October 5th.
I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. Is that better?
I'm just going to mention that this whole side can hear nothing when you speak, just from a personal standpoint. So
okay.
if
Is
you
this
could
better?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. October 5th is a day off in option 1, but not in option 2. Was there discussion around why that was added in option 1?
It was just a suggestion, and they liked it, and so they suggested to have that because September 10th is so early off to have that 4-day weekend in October. You could take the 5th off and start on Wednesday. That is there are other options than just these 2 calendars. And so just for the board, in years past, sometimes the board has come back and combined option 1 and option 2. We've had option 11A sometimes for.
That's a little bit
yes,
of exaggeration.
They've gone on and on and on. So this was what we had 7 options, I believe, that we looked at.
Okay. I just wondered if there was some discussion, if there was any strong opinions about that, having that particular day off for a 4-day weekend in October and looking at the 2 options. I was just curious.
Yeah, and it was
just
and
an
we
option.
Talked all about starting on a Monday, starting on a Tuesday, starting on a Wednesday, starting on a Thursday. They all work.
Okay.
It's just personal preferences.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Ms. O'Brien, in order to put that in, you would have to look at that calendar and find another day. You see what I'm saying? If you took calendar option 2 and you put the 5th as a holiday, you'd have to find another day. You'd have to.
Yes, I understand that.
You'd either have to go before Monday the 6th.
Right. No, I wasn't. I was
One
curious
somewhere.
about why we didn't start. Why have it on option 1 and not start a day later? I was just curious about the discussion that included it in there. That was all. I thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Any other questions or comments? Or this is a preview item, so there's no vote.
Ms. Fisher, I might add, if you, upon reflection, you have until this will be on the agenda for action on February the 14th. If you have questions that you would like me to get an answer to prior to the 14th, if you'll please send those to me, I'll make sure that Karen gets them, and we'll get you an answer in, sometime in between so that we can address those, and then you can do the deliberations that you need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we are moving on to 10B. First readings. Gail?
Good evening, President Fisher, members of the board, Dr. Weitenheimer, and guest. This evening, we have 6 policies for preview. Each of the policies are either ASBA recommended or have had legal review. The policies we review are shown on this slide.
The policy I'm presenting. Oh, now? Yes, now. Okay. The policy I'm presenting to you this evening on behalf of Human Resources is a modification to the ASBA policy GCQC. This policy has been legally reviewed to include the ability for DVUSD to collect liquidated damages for any certified, administrative, or exempt employee who breaks their contract without approval. As shared with the governing board over the last few weeks, Human Resources has researched surrounding district policies and damage charges in an effort to prepare a recommendation for you this evening. Liquidated damages are collected from an employee who chooses to leave their position without approval. The damages are not collected as a consequence to the employee for severing their employment, but rather to compensate for the damages created by their exit. This may include substitute coverage, recruiting, development, and onboarding of a new employee, and the multitude of other tangible and intangible resources used to manage a vacancy created between the time the employee severs employment to the time we are able to recruit and retain their replacement. Please note, this policy takes into consideration major life events such as a medical condition or out-of-county, state, or country moves. In verified cases such as these, Human Resources would be able to recommend the resignation without labeling it as an abandonment of position. Should the governing board move to approve this policy, 1718 contract language would include the dollar amount of the charge differentiated between certified contracts and administrative exempt contracts.
Policy IMG has been modified to clarify language regarding service animals in schools and provide reference to Section 504 and ADA.
Gail, do you all mind if we do them one at a time so that we don't, so that we're not waiting until we're already done reading? Sorry. So does anyone have questions, obviously, for the first one? Ms. Ordway.
One question would be, what would be the mechanism that we're going to use to collect these damages?
We would manage that in Human Resources, and we would be working also with our business department to develop a system to do that.
I'm just, because that would be like a collection agency because it's after the fact?
Yes.
And how do we determine, so it would be a case by case. So if I was a person that was making $200 a day and you had to have a sub for me for, it only took five, how would that work?
No, proposed at this time, and of course it would be up to the board and their approval of contract language. Most of the districts that we reviewed, and again, just as a reminder to what you had previewed, are surrounding all but Paradise Valley that we talked to have this practice in place. And what they do is they put the dollar amount in their contract for that year. So most charge about $2,500. I believe what we put forward to you is about $2,000 would be a charge for a certificated person who broke their contract. So it's outlined in their contract before they sign it, and signing that contract informs them that we could collect liquidated damages for breaking their contract without permission. So administratively, our recommendation is $3,000.
And that would be if they broke the contract in the 6th week, or for any moment after they sign the contract?
It could, yes.
And with these other districts that we've looked at, how do they collect it and how successful are they collecting?
It varies. Some of them report that they are very successful in always collecting their funds. Others don't collect from absolutely everybody, but claim they collect from the majority.
And they all do it in-house?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Ms. Ordway, I can't state that all of them do it in-house. Some may use a collection agency to follow up.
Okay, thanks.
Ms. Frank.
I do have a couple of questions, and we don't have the specific language. Oh, thank you. So I don't know if maybe some of these questions I should email to you, but when you say move out of the county, state, or country, well, now that I work for the county, I've suddenly realized how large it is, as in I'm driving to Queen Creek tomorrow morning by 8 o'clock. You know, we go all the way south of Ela Bend. So is it perhaps we want to define a specific radius of miles? I mean, I don't think it's reasonable if someone moves to Queen Creek to expect them to continue to drive up here to Deer Valley, or if you're moving to Ela Bend, or something of that nature. I guess my point is we're a very large county, and so if you're a small county, that might be reasonable. So that would be something that I think we really need to take a look at, because it's a pretty fur piece to the East Valley from here.
It is common language used. The language that you see in front of you is what you might read in other policies in other districts. However, it is your discretion. If the board chooses to make a recommendation to modify that, that is something we can do.
Okay. And then another question I have is, it kind of goes to Ms. Ordway's question. If the liquidated damages, the purpose is to pay for sub, and various things of that nature. If someone signs a contract in March, and then for the following school year, and then before the school year has ended, receives another offer, or a better offer, or a higher paying job, there's no sub involved. If they break their contract before the following school year even begins, is there some type of a sliding scale of the $2,000? Are they just out the $2,000?
I believe the policy you have in front of you has a provision for FTE, that it could be differentiated based on their FTE, but other than that, we don't have a provision for the amount of damage that could be caused by their exit. It's difficult to predict, especially now, when someone who signs their contract chooses to leave. We think we will fill it, even if they leave at the front of July. We think we will fill it, and we have found that we don't always.
Okay.
But to be clear, the objective is that it costs the organization money whenever someone abandons their contract. Mm-hmm. But this is intended to be a deterrent for that, with provisions that would allow health issues or moving whatever distance you want to, whatever we think is right. We use county because that's pretty standard. That's a pretty standard thing that our peers would use, and they're in the same county we are. So it's intended to be that. It's not intended to be anything other than a contractual obligation that they have to us and we have to them. And you all weren't here, but for the entire first semester, every time we came here, this lady was talking about employees that we had that abandoned their contract. And the vacancies would go from 2 to 6, then we'd get them down to 4, and then they go back to 5 and 6 and 7. And so it's kind of cost of doing business, but it didn't contemplate, it cost us X number of dollars to get your sub until we found your replacement, right. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess my point is if someone signs a contract in March for the following year, and then say by April or May, they choose to break that contract, there's no sub involved because the school year hasn't started.
And that is true, but the principal has spent the entire time going through the entire organizational place. Payroll has done their thing, HR has done their thing, and so we're saying if you sign on to us and you choose not to want to stay with us during that period of time, unless it's these things, and again, we get to control what those are, there's a consequence for that. There's a business organizational consequence for that. And so you're right. There's no substitute involved, but Jeanette and payroll has been doing all of that stuff, and HR has been doing all of
it might want to look at a sliding scale in terms of what the damages are. Is it $2,000 all the way across the board, or is there some flexibility?
We can look at that.
We would be absolutely. We'd be happy to check that. Have you found that to be the case with others?
It is not recommended to use that practice. We did find it in one district.
And when we checked our legal counsel, they
did
didn't
not
suggest we do
recommend
that.
it. Okay. But I will say that something helpful to your concern is that many districts share with the person that's wanting to sever ties that if they will at least remain in the position, so should they say that in March, could you remain in this position until we find your replacement? Some people will do that here as well. Okay, I'll stay in the position until we do find your replacement. And then we don't collect liquidated. We would not collect liquidated damages in that case.
Is that written into the language? I didn't see that.
No, it is not, and it does not need to be included in the language in order to practice that.
Okay. All right,
And I might just again add, not to belabor the point, but a lot of times principals will do their job. They'll fill their staffing. They'll go off on vacation and come back to find people that have abandoned their contract.
Right.
And so now they and the teams that they work with are out of luck.
Right. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Ms. Tweedy.
How many people last year broke their contracts where this would have applied?
Last year, I can't speak to last year, but we, as of the first day of school this year, hold on one second. Does not include the summer months. So as the first day of this year, we have 43.
Okay.
First student day.
Where they broke their contract after the student started? Okay, thank you.
I actually have a couple questions for you as well. I know we're talking about subs, but I've never seen this for the purpose of covering subs. It's the recruitment process that costs in excess of up to $8,000, and that's on the low end for recruitment. So it is that. The discussion regarding county, I think I'm having a dumb moment or something, so correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of people I work with who live in my area, who I've worked with in the past, you know, I have my former boss lives by me, which is up here, and he works in Levine. Prior to that, he was at Higley. You know, I applied with Dysart, which is a 30-mile commute. It's not uncommon. Am I not understanding? Because I mean, county is standard, correct? Or
County is common to be written in this policy for other school districts, and I think in the thought process that you're describing, that it's the greater valley that people move and they'll drive in the morning and they're willing to make that commitment. And signing a contract, you're committing for that year to do that. And should you need to move within that year, that's something to consider, is that you're adding.
So county is standard then. Okay. The other question I have, I guess this would go more, I don't know, it may be Jim or it may be you. And I know that there's, it's been a lot of years since I've done payroll for a school district. There's the end of year contract where they, I believe we pay out any leave that's not been used. I know that there's, but generally there's leave. Would there be a potential to, if there's leave, unused leave, rather than pay it out? That's generally, it was my understanding that was a mechanism for this type of collection internally. So essentially, instead of paying out their leave, their leave would cover the cost.
President Fisher, yes. So if they were owed monies, then that would be a provision to be able to impose the liquidated damages. In our case, that would mean that they'd have to have worked for us for at least 5 years for that to have any monetary value.
Okay.
For sick days. And most of these people would be sick. The administrators also earn vacation days that have value from day one, so that could be collected as opposed to having the employee write a check.
So legally, would we be able to do like balance of contract type thing
from this year because they break the contract for the coming year type situation. Is that, could we?
Yes, we're
I
told
don't
that
know.
we could do something like that.
Okay, because I seem to recall it happening. And my final, the policy as it's written, there's also language, I believe, in most districts, I don't know if we have it in ours, I haven't read all of our policies, that any type of decision can be appealed to the board anyway. So if they have something, a hardship or any reason, would this be something that they could appeal to the board?
We could add that into, this is an HR change.
Yes.
This would come forward to you as an HR change anyway. So now we have a line item, as if you've noticed in the fall, we shifted into having a break of contract.
I've only ever seen it happen once, and it wasn't written in any language. It was just a request that came to the superintendent, and then it was a practice, not written in language. Is there any other questions?
I just have one.
Ms. O'Brien?
Do the school districts that have this in place, did they see a drop in contract breaks with this as a deterrent, or do you know?
They say that they do. They say that it is a deterrent. They say that it is helpful.
Okay.
One district, I believe it's Dysart, took this on recently. Maybe this is their first year. All of us are experiencing difficulty. All of us are experiencing situations where people, whether needing to pay liquidated damages or not, are willing to go move in along to do for a different job or a different occupation, but they do claim that it is a deterrent, and it's not an easy process. Obviously, every scenario has to be reviewed, and it can be stressful and disappointing for some people. But every single one of them say they would continue to do it even through the struggle.
Okay, thank you so much.
Ms. Frank?
So if this is approved, then what are your thoughts on how to get this information out to the staff other than just putting it in the middle of the legalese that no one will probably read?
Right. I think that it would require information to come out at minimum in a memo in advance to contract. So like last year, we put out information about types of pay raises that they might be receiving, that they would see in their contract. I think we would use that same format with this.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this first one? Seeing none, Gail?
Policy IMG has been modified to clarify language regarding service animals in schools and provide reference to Section 504 and ADA.
Any questions on this one? All read through it? Okay, next.
Policy IKF has been modified to include information specific to DVUSD regarding Algebra 1 as a prerequisite for other math courses in high school, and to formalize CTE course sequences that, once approved by the board, meet math graduation requirements. In addition, special education competency requirements are updated. There is information about the seal of biliteracy that was approved by the State Board of Education this past fall, and specifics regarding the CPR instruction requirement that goes into effect in 2019. We would also recommend, we are also removing the regulation and Exhibit A and Exhibit B. They are no longer needed with the change in the state assessment.
Any questions, comments? Okay, next.
Last spring, specific legislation went into effect regarding the emergency administration of naloxone or other opioid antagonists in a school setting. Policy JLCD has been modified to include information on procedures for the emergency administration of naloxone hydrochloride or other opioid antagonists. You may wonder what this drug is, like we did. When naloxone or other opioid antagonists are administered to an individual who is overdosing on opiates, naloxone can stop the effects of the opiate, allowing the individual a chance to breathe. This drug has been widely used in the emergency treatment of an opiate overdose and reduces the rate of fatality significantly.
Any questions on this non-optional policy?
Is there, yeah, is there a requirement that the person that administers the drug is an RN, a CNA? Is there any qualifications to administer it?
President Fisher, Ms. Ordway, no.
Okay, so we're in the clear. Anybody could save this person.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Let's go to the next one.
Policy JRR is a new policy that also had legislation occur last year, and that is the impetus for this policy. This policy addresses a district's responsibility to obtain written informed consent from parents before administering surveys that solicit personal information about a student and that the district retains for longer than 1 year. Currently, DVUSD does not utilize any surveys that require personal information.
Any questions? Comments? No? Next.
Policy LC has been modified to meet the requirements of Policy JRR. With that said, we will bring these policies back to you on February 14th for your approval.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. I appreciate it. Future meetings are posted. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Yeah. I motion we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.